What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Blade, and we're back with some more YouTube creepy video reactions. Alright, today we're switching it up. We've done a lot of Nick Crowley, so the YouTube algorithm blessed upon me a new creator. We got Noxly. Oh, you guys can't even see his. We got Noxly. Bada bing, bada boom, 6K subs 2 days ago. Korea's most disturbing moments on TV history. We're switching it up. Now we're in foreign territory with the Korea. We're gonna see what's happening on Korean TV. That's so disturbing. Once again, shout out Noxly for making the video. W-Mans, boom, subscribe. Boom, like the video. I didn't even watch it yet. I look forward to reacting to your videos, my boy. And I'll link the OG video in the description so you guys can support him and sub and like to his channel. Alright, let's start this video. I don't know why this thing is buffering.
These are some of the darkest moments in Korean TV history. From the psychological and manipulative to real crimes broadcast live. We're gonna take a look at them in the form of an iceberg. So let's get started. Live music shows in South Korea look polished on TV, but behind the scenes, a lot of those stages are built and dismantled every week under enormous time pressure. And on June 26, 2009, that pressure almost ended in disaster.
I can already tell from that one sentence. I already know what's about to happen, bro. They didn't set up the stage properly, they were rushing, and then some K-pop group performed, and it just collapsed. This guy looks like he's picking up someone. Okay, let's watch.
Earlier that day, a string of accidents had already exposed how unstable the stage was. A performer injured themselves tripping over a loose prop, and another slipped on a wet floor that hadn't been dried after a previous set drenched the stage with water. Crews rushed between rehearsals with little time to check basic safety. But the real disaster happened at the very end of the live broadcast. After the final encore began, dozens of performers walked off stage towards the back exit. Above them hung a multi-meter lighting rig.
This falls on them? Oh, this is a million times worse.
This was heavy-duty equipment, made from steel beams that, if fell, would crush anyone beneath it. Without warning, the entire lighting structure tilted, then dropped. The metal frame rushed downward towards the group exiting the stage, with one of the lights smashing right next to one of the performers who actually passed out due to the terror of the situation. Other members of the group and staff rushed to hold the structure up, but had they reacted even a second later, the entire group could have been crushed live on national television. Meeting You was broadcast on Korean TV in 2020. Where a mother was given a VR headset by a production team and was allowed to meet her daughter, who had passed away in 2016. The clip went viral and popularized the sweet, man-made horrors beyond my comprehension meme, but how unsettling the whole situation is really is no joke. The production staff had the fake daughter saying things like, "Mom, I miss you," while you see the mother's reaction and her reaching out into thin air, trying to hug her non-existing daughter. There were a lot of ethical questions about—
Yeah, that's messed up. Yeah, I wouldn't even. I had a friend who passed away. No way in hell would I want to put a VR headset and see him in the VR and not be able to give him a hug or touch him or dap him up. Just, you know what I'm saying? That's messed up, bro. Like someone that's like your daughter, a best friend, your parents. You're like, we have technology to bring back your friend in VR. I'd be like, no, get that shit out of here, bro.
Bringing back the dead via technology, which if you think about it is something probably feasibly possible with ChatGPT if you trained it to do so, meaning that we could see even worse man-made horrors within the next 10 or 15 years. Produce 101 was a Korean idol survival show, and when I say survival show,
Oh, this guy's just going like quick with it. Yeah, it's a boom. Next story, next story, next story. That's crazy. All right, man. I like it.
I don't mean like we have over here, where it's a literal survival island, but when I say
hold on.
Produce 101 was a Korean idol survival show.
Produce 101 Korean idol show.
And when I say survival show, I don't mean like we have over here, where it's a literal survival island, but in Korea, Produce 101 is where 101 trainees from tons of idol agencies compete to debut as K-pop stars.
Bro, this is K-pop Battle Royale, bro. This is crazy, bro. K-pop Battle Royale 101 lobby. Who's the best dancer? Who's the best stage performance?
Basically, if you compete and win on the show, you get a career as an idol like in BTS or Psy Gangnam Style or something. Viewers would basically call in and place their vote on who they wanted to win, and you could see the votes tallying up on screen. But in 2019, fans noticed the math didn't add up. The final vote totals landed on suspiciously perfect intervals, so hundreds of viewers filed complaints, which led to the police actually raiding Mnet and the SMS vote vendor.
Damn, that was crazy, bro. They were like, no, these votes are way too accurate. And they all complained, and then the police was like, hold on, that was a fraud going on here. Rigged from the start.
Which unraveled something horrifying. All these idols that were fighting their hearts out for a chance to win were working so hard for absolutely nothing because the show's bosses had pre-picked all the winners across multiple seasons.
Rigged from the start.
The two key people in charge of the scam were An Jun Young and Kim Yong. Oh, there's no way his name is Kim Yong Bum. They were arrested in November 2019, and in court, Anne admitted that the rankings were manipulated in all 4 seasons, with the extent varying by season. Prosecutors also uncovered bribery, entertainment reps plying producers with benefits while trainees' careers hung on the line. In May 2020, the Seoul's Central District Court handed down prison sentences. Anne got 2 years, and Kim got 1 year and 8 months with fines, which is kinda just ridiculous. These kids had what was probably their only chances at a career completely ruined, while the bosses pocketed all the bribery cash and only spent 2 years in prison. In late 2020, a court publicly named some trainees harmed by the rigging, so at least it seems that they were somewhat compensated. Super annoying situation for the hundreds of people who worked really hard to win a competition that was completely rigged from the start. Now for tier 2. These are some more serious cases that caused shows to just be straight up cancelled. So let's get into it. Hello Counselor started in 2010. It was a primetime national counseling talk show. Ordinary people came on to discuss family problems on stage, while celebrities and hosts reacted and advised.
Bro, I swear this is like so common in like, I'm pretty sure in every country and culture, they do these types of counseling shows. Like, yo, I swear like my parents be watching that like a Tamil version. I'm just like, yo, what is this, bro? You really gotta do this on live TV?
Usually telling jokes to keep the show lighthearted. However, in January 2019, lighthearted the show was not, as an episode blew up, causing the show to be cancelled in the same year. A father came onto the show asking for advice, after his wife began getting uncomfortable with his behavior. The man went on to casually describe touching his 5-year-old son inappropriately numerous times, framing it as, in quotation marks here, a cute habit. Okay, bro?
Oh, hell no, man. This man just outed himself. Essaying his own son. That's another thing, bro. I don't even understand how like there's PDF files who are married and still do it. Those people, I don't even understand what's going on. Well, you already have a girl, you have a wife, and you're out here doing the bad with young kids when you have a wife, an of age wife that loves you, and you're doing this behind her back. And you are talking to minors when you have a wife. Like, what is wrong with you?
The hosts, instead of treating the matter seriously, made jokes about it, while the guests, hosts, and idols looked increasingly uncomfortable as the man went on to effectively admit to an incredibly weird act on live TV.
He's gonna be like, this is a serious problem. You know, I touched his willy and I put my finger in his bumhole. Watch.
Fans of the show were outraged and began using hashtag #EndHelloCounselor, which got trending on Twitter as clips of the incident spread. The entire family began to get creeped out by the father's actions, while the father seemingly didn't understand the problem at all. The show seems to have been cancelled in 2019, with producers saying they'd retool and return with season 2, but the show had numerous questionable controversies over the years, with people complaining that the show used people suffering as entertainment, having on guests of clear domestic abuse, like this case of a mother who verbally and physically abused her son, with the hosts cheerfully making light of it. The same happens numerous times, telling jokes straight to the faces of victims, instead of reaching out for help.
Okay, this is a completely different from what my parents watch, where it's like the kid or like the parents having problems, or the parents and the kids have problems. I never watched it. I just seen them watch clips on YouTube. But this is a million times worse. Oh my goodness.
Right then and there, when the people in front of them were suffering. Let me in with South Korea's most notorious extreme makeover show, a televised competition where women with facial deformities or severe insecurities audition for a chance to receive a free, full-body plastic surgery. If you don't know anything about Korea, it has an unsettlingly...
Yeah. Everyone knows this by now, brother. Korea's beauty standards for the females are like SSS plus tier. If you ain't looking like this, you ugly. That's how Korea is, bro. You don't look like XYZ, you ugly. You fat, you ugly. It's just like boom. Way too high of beauty standards. But the people in other places are like, I need that Korean skincare routine. And then they're like, buy into all their stuff. That's all I know.
insane beauty culture, to the point where people go there for salmon sperm face injections, which are...
Excuse me, what? I beg your pardon? Run that back one more time, please.
insane beauty culture, to the point where people go there for salmon sperm face injections, which are said to make you look younger and healthier. And I'm sure you've seen their idols, who look like they're on a French Revolution diet of mud water and bread crusts. TLDR, Korea has a serious obsession with...
Ew, that's not normal for a woman to have legs that look like that. Are you a female Slenderman? Slenderina? Is that you? Yeah, that's not attractive at all. That is very concerning. That's what that is. That is very concerning. That's not hot in any way, shape, or form.
beauty, but especially plastic surgery. They will have on these average-looking women, showcasing and highlighting their imperfections, making millions of girls in Korea self-conscious, all in an effort to bump up the plastic surgery industry further and normalize it. Only one woman per episode was chosen for makeover. They would undergo weeks of intensive surgery, with viewers being able to watch the entire process. And in the end, they would reveal the new look, with an audience made to fake clap and gasp, further gratifying the message that the ugly and unworthy could be made acceptable if you just paid for it. critics exploded that Let Me In was exploitative, which
Yo, that's just messed up, bro. It's like, hey, look, you can look pretty too. If you're ugly like this person, you just gotta do plastic surgery and then you look pretty. Bruh. That's not nice. Not a good message to spread.
I mean, it was. Its entire goal was to increase sales to these plastic surgery facilities that sponsored the show. The show was also exposed on numerous occasions for manipulative editing and recycling fake trauma stories that were engineered to be relatable to poor girls being bullied in school for their looks. The show ran for 5 seasons, all the way until 2015 when it was cancelled. But the damage was already done, with 1 in 3 women in Seoul, aged 19 to 29, having had some form of cosmetic procedure. Not to mention girls flying to Korea from Japan or China or nearby places, being unable to return to their home countries because they just look so much different after receiving plastic surgery that they don't look anything like their passport photos anymore. At a point, it's like you lose yourself and who you are.
Yo, these they are dumb. Be that insecure. You literally completely change your face that they can't even identify you at the with your passport. Yo, these people are crazy in the head.
Might be nice to look amazing, but is it not sad when you see a picture of who you once were, knowing you can never get that back? It's disturbing when you see this show, knowing that its entire goal was just to take advantage of millions of young women, and even more so, that it was entirely successful in that regard. Korea's hidden camera prank shows of the 1990s were a lot darker than anyone who'd watched them growing up probably remember. When you take a second to really unravel these pranks, you see how disturbing they really were. To the producers of these shows, the word prank usually meant public humiliation, fear, and emotional breakdowns, all filmed in secret and broadcast for viewers to laugh at. MBC's Molka built its identity on breaking performers emotionally. Actors were ambushed with fake firings, fake scandals, and fake relationship betrayals, all to be told, it was just a prank, bro, as the studio audience roared with laughter. I mean, it's not like these people were on a comedy show or whatever. Most of their prank targets were unsuspecting idols from the same production company who had no idea about the show to begin with. Simon is an idol known for being part of a group called Dalmatian. The producers decided that Simon was a prime target for their horrifying kidnapping prank. Korea seemingly didn't get the memo that our prank shows they were clearly taking inspiration from were all fake, as they didn't fill Simon in on the kidnapping prank at all. Producers hired actors to play an obsessive fan and her accomplices. Then, as Simon walked outside the building during a filming break, he was coerced into a car where he would be blindfolded and tucked into what seems like a warehouse. They tied him up, all while playing a laughing track in the background and cutting to producers laughing off screen. This is very much like the Nasabi situation, where they just put a laughing track, funny sound effects, and audience reactions over an incredibly disturbing scene.
Okay, we gotta watch this one after. Okay. The next video.
And audiences weren't able to tell that this was incredibly messed up for some reason. After sitting alone in the warehouse for some time, the crazy girl appears. She invades his space and professes her love, all while he looks incredibly uncomfortable, like almost on the verge of throwing up. The girl goes away for a few minutes and returns to ask things like, "Did you miss me?" With Simon replying incredibly uncomfortably that yes, he did miss her, even though that's obviously far from the truth. She then goes on to ask if she looks lovable, and of course he's coerced into saying yes. Finally, the producers push it so far that he's forced to kiss the girl. He just looks so uncomfortable throughout the entire thing. They even go as far as to bring a fake gun out and point it at his face, repeatedly counting 1, 2, over and over as if she's actually going to do it, with Simon beginning to beg to talk to his mother one last time, revealing deep thoughts like he hadn't been a good son, before almost completely freezing up. Eventually, they reveal that it's a prank, and the camera captures that he can't even stand up afterwards, repeatedly falling back into his chair while the producers laugh in the background. After this prank received a ton of hate online, it was revealed that the show had a strict policy of keeping its prank targets in the dark, and only the staff plus actors know it's a setup. Even after all the backlash, a grand total of 0 people fessed up to the fact that it was scripted, which means that this idol was essentially really kidnapped for over an hour. Idol Schools, similar to Produce X 101, was a girl group reality program that marketed itself as a training academy, and not as an elimination survival show, even though that's basically what it was. The show accepted applicants as young as 13, middle schoolers who lived in a campus-style dorm. Also, I'm not crazy, but are these not crazy outfits for 13-year-olds to be wearing on TV? Watching the clips is really creepy as hell, but I guess I'm not the target audience. I don't know if skimpy clothing like this is the message you should be sending anyway, but anyway, as weird as the show is right off the bat, that wasn't what the controversy was about. In 2020, an investigation into Mnet's shows allowed for trainees to be interviewed, where they would reveal the conditions they lived under while on the show. The contestants were often fed poor food, and usually not enough for the entire day. They were forced to wear thin summer clothing in cold weather, as well as isolation from phones and outside contact, basically stopping these 13-year-old kids and middle schoolers from talking to their families, as well as multiple contestants reporting itching rashes from unventilated dorms, on top of a ton of other medical issues caused by stress, exhaustion, and restricted.
The building was newly constructed, the paints were fresh, and you got paint fumes messing up their brain. No windows, no ventilation. The beds were super duper small. You weren't allowed to leave the place at all. Type of jail. Oh my god.
Nutrition. This information came from court statements and interviews, and as the investigation continued, along came a bombshell that just like Produce 101, the entire show was rigged. Prosecutors found that the show's production team had manipulated the lineup, choosing themselves who would get a career despite the viewer votes. Again, viewers were supposed to be able to phone in and vote for who they wanted to move in or move out of the final group. However, they were ignored, and instead the producers would choose based on pre-planned narrative aimed at boosting revenue across the board. It's incredibly disturbing how many times these shows do this. These kids' futures in the idol industry depended on this show, and it was stolen from them even though they...
That's a waste of time for these innocent young girls, bro. They out here grinding, trying to make it out of the hood. These guys are like pre-planned. You're not winning. I don't care how many votes you get. This girl's gonna win. That's messed up, yo.
were better than the other competitors, all while being forced to live under high stress, limited freedom, and questionable living conditions. Thankfully, the show was cancelled and there was a whole court ordeal, but those kids' careers were probably incredibly hampered by these rigged votes, as well as all the mental issues that stemmed in some kids after living in those conditions. It's pretty tough to see the show and all the smiles and dancing, not knowing how hard these poor kids had it off screen. Now for Tier 3. Here we're gonna look at some pretty shocking clips, as well as a serious criminal case, so I hope you're prepared.
Okay, let's go. We're getting deeper.
My Golden Kids looks like a harmless parenting show hosted by Dr. O.E. Young, where
No, not a kids. This is literal toddlers, bro.
struggling families bring their children for advice. But in reality, the series repeatedly crossed the line, filming children in extremely emotional distress for primetime entertainment. The most infamous case that went viral across Korean social media in 2022 and 2023 was a 4-year-old boy who appeared on the show with his parents. His parents said that he was defiant and hard to discipline, but the raw footage told a very different story. During filming, the father was shown screaming at the child, inches from his face, while camera operators continued rolling. The boy sobbed and begged for his father to stop, all while multiple cameras zoomed in on his breakdown. At one point, the father forcibly grabbed the child's jaw to make him talk. The clip circulated on TikTok and Twitter with captions like,
Yo, this is super recent. Yo, if it's on TikTok.
"This is abuse, not education." What disturbed viewers the most wasn't just the father's behavior, but the fact that it was a full professional camera crew stood in the room, documenting the meltdown instead of intervening. Child psychologists spoke out, saying that the filming setup, with multiple fixed cameras, hidden mics, and staff in the next room, intensified the child's panic and normalized the mistreatment as problem behavior. The controversy sparked renewed criticism of the entire My Golden Kids franchise, that the show often frames abusive parenting as tough love, and edits children's breakdowns for dramatic beats and profits off the emotional suffering of toddlers who can't consent. Channel A eventually edited down the viral segment after public outrage, but never actually issued a full apology. The Seoul ferry sinking is one of the darkest days in modern Korean history, with 304 people not making it out, most of them being high school students on a field trip. But what many people outside of Korea don't know is that the initial TV coverage became a national scandal on its own. On the morning of April 16, 2014, Korea's major broadcasters KBS, MBC, and SBS rushed to air the disaster as it was happening. But in their rush for ratings and breaking news exclusives, several networks aired footage and commentary that people still describe as incredibly insensitive, exploitative, and inhumane.
Oh, these mans are definitely commentating as people were dying, bro. They definitely were like, okay, and 50 people are just dying right in front of us right now. They are dying right in front of us instead of not showing it at all. They're just like, oh, that person just died right now. Okay, oh, another person just drowned. No one's trying to save her. She drowned. Okay. Oh, 5 more students have just drowned.
Started with MBC, who aired the now infamous "All Students Rescued" line, a completely false report in a rush to be the
Oh, these guys are lying now. Oh, that's even worse. They're like, yep, everyone's safe. Don't worry. Everything's good. Everyone's safe. Happy ending.
first station to report on the accident. But this actually led to other news stations, as well as educational officials, pushing the incorrect information. KBS, another news station, repeated the incorrect information immediately, and families who saw the broadcast believed their children were safe, only to learn hours later that almost none had been rescued. The emotional whiplash permanently damaged trust in Korean media at the time, with many parents of the victims later saying that the broadcasts made their trauma worse. The disaster itself is horrifying, but for Korean viewers, the way the television handled it is remembered as one of the most insensitive live broadcasts in the country's history. If you want to know more about this, I featured the case itself in my Korea's Most Disturbing Cults video. The whole disaster has some deeper ties, and it's really disturbing. One of the darkest, least discussed tragedies in Korean TV history isn't something captured entirely on live broadcast, but something that happened behind the camera of a drama set. Yang Sora and Yang So-jun were both aspiring actresses. In 2004, Sora accepted a small supporting role in a mid-level K-drama production, but instead of the cinematic opportunity, she walked onto a set that would destroy her life. Within weeks, her personality changed completely, from quiet and kind to withdrawn, violent, and terrified. Her family found notes describing bad thoughts and cryptic references to 12 men. When Sora finally broke down, the truth was way worse than anyone imagined. She told doctors she had been assaulted and abused repeatedly by members of the drama crew, 40 plus times over 3 months, involving assistant directors, staff, and managers. They allegedly got her drunk, kept her locked in dorm rooms, took her phone, took turns assaulting her, and threatened her with knives. This wasn't just one person either. It was an entire production group abusing their power on a young newcomer who had no agency protection. Sora reported everything to the police, bringing notes, recordings, and written statements, but instead of helping her, the police investigators basically told her to stuff off, mocking her, telling her to forget it, and only when she pushed them further, they took her into her room and asked her to describe her assault over and over again across multiple weeks, repeatedly dismissing evidence and just continuing to ask her to describe her assault. It's really messed up. The interrogation.
What the hell is wrong with these people? This is the police. You know, Korea is not a good place, huh? That's what I'm getting at now. Very, very dark. All a facade. All the stuff you see. All these K-pop groups and idol groups and all this group, that group, A-drama, this drama. There's some darkness in the back.
Itself became a second wave of trauma due to the fact that she had to continuously relive the moments that changed her life. After 2 years of degradation from the police, Sora dropped the charges, saying she couldn't relive it anymore. She tried to live quietly with her family afterwards, but on August 28, 2009, I'm sure you can imagine what she did. Just 6 days later, her younger sister So-jung, who blamed herself for bringing Sora into acting, did the same thing. 2 months after that, their father passed away from a hemorrhage believed to be induced by stress, meaning the only surviving member of the family was the mother. In 2018, TV programs revisited the case with interviews from the mother, as well as newly discovered documents. The topic resurfaced again in 2024 after investigative programs dug deeper into police misconduct. What viewers saw on TV horrified them. They realized that the perpetrators that led to her death were never punished, and several still worked in the industry, some as executives. The police who mocked Sora faced zero consequences, but worse, the statutes of limitations prevented reopening the case. Millions of Korean viewers were exposed to the raw injustice of the sisters' deaths, and the episode is now considered one of the most disturbing true stories tied to Korean television production. Now, onto Tier 4. Tier 4 features the worst of the worst from Korean TV, so let's get into it.
Okay, here we go. Worst of the worst.
One of the most shocking animal safety controversies in Korean TV history happened in 2021, during the filming of the historical KBS drama The King of Tears, Lee Bang-won. Viewers were enjoying the show until one episode was aired. During a chase scene, the production wanted a dramatic shot of a horse collapsing. But instead of using CGI or a fake horse, the production crew tied a thick rope around a real horse's front legs and yanked it off its feet at full speed. In the broadcast episode, it looked like a natural fall, but behind the scenes, the horse had actually slammed face first into the ground, breaking its neck. The animal actually died shortly after, and KBS didn't disclose the death to viewers. Like how normally you might see no animals were harmed in the making of this film, they just aired it without a care in the world.
Oh, that's like that. Was that American movie with the dog? The dog actually dies. Like the dog, it was drowning or something, and they used a real dog. The dog died or something. I swear there was some crazy story like that too.
The scene aired normally until an anonymous staffer leaked what had actually happened.
Oh, we got the leakers! Okay, W leaks. This is a W leak.
Korean animal groups published photos of the rope setup, the horse's brutal impact, and its body lying on set. Public outrage exploded overnight. People were horrified not only because the animal was killed, but because KBS aired the scene anyway, as if nothing was wrong. Like, that's crazy. Imagine just airing the scene of an actual death without, saying anything. Not even, reshooting. This wasn't even like a 1980s production either. This happened in 2021 on one of Korea's biggest networks. However, thankfully following the backlash, an investigation was opened and KBS publicly apologized. The scene was deleted from rebroadcasts, and the drama halted filming for weeks, with major actors suspending schedules in protest. Thanks to these protests, a new no harm animals guideline was drafted for the entire Korean broadcast industry, meaning no animals.
You're telling me they never had that until 2021? You gotta be kidding me.
Animals can be harmed in the future. However, there was an even earlier incident that Korean viewers still talk about. A moment buried in a 1990s broadcast, resurfacing years later as one of the country's most disturbing examples of animal abuse in a TV drama. The show was Tears of the Dragon, a massive KBS historical saga that aired from 1996 to 1998. It's remembered as a prestige production, but behind the scenes, the staff committed an act that was just as bad, if not worse, as the horse one. To film a scene where a deer is supposed to collapse, the production didn't use any editing tricks, and again, decided to use a real deer. The staff sedated a deer and waited until it was barely conscious, and then physically lifted and threw the animal onto the ground, all so they could capture a realistic falling motion on camera. There wasn't even any padding or stunt precautions, they just didn't even care and dropped the half-drugged animal like it was some prop, all for just a 2-second scene. This wasn't exposed immediately, as the truth came out years later through a behind-the-scenes account from staff and old KBS production
Oh my god, another leaker.
notes that confirmed the method. When the story resurfaced, it was directly informed in criticism of KBS's horse killing scandal, with people saying KBS hasn't changed in 25 years. If you had to pick a single case that exposes the darkest side of Korean entertainment, the agencies, the media, the police, if not Yang Sora, then the story of Jang Jae-yeon is the one everyone points to. She wasn't a top actress, and she wasn't a superstar. She was just a rising actress, best known for her supporting role in the KBS drama Boys Over Flowers. To viewers, she was just another newcomer working her way up the industry ladder, very cheerful, professional, and still early in her career. But inside the industry, she was trapped in something far more sinister. In 2009, at just 29 years old, she passed away in her home in Seongnam. Her death made headlines instantly, but the real shock came from what she left behind. Near her body were 7 handwritten letters and multiple documents describing years of forced exploitation. She wrote that her agency coerced her into attending what they called drinking meetings, gatherings with powerful men in entertainment, business, and media. In reality, these were events where the actresses were expected to pour drinks, accompany executives, and provide services in exchange for roles or favors. She wrote that this happened over 100 times, and she named 31 men in the list, from production heads to newspaper CEOs, all of whom she accused of exploiting or assaulting her. Jiang wrote that her agency's CEO beat her with a liquor bottle. She described being dragged to work events against her will, forced to pour drinks until dawn, and told that refusing would mean her career was over. She wrote that she thought about running away, but that the company monitored her constantly. She wrote that she felt trapped between destroying her career or destroying herself. The moment the letters leaked, Korea erupted. News stations camped outside police stations, and people demanded to know the identities of the 31 men. But then, the investigation began to shrink. In theory, the case should have been huge, a national reckoning, but instead, from the very first week, investigators seemed more concerned with controlling the narrative than uncovering the truth. Police began questioning whether the letters were real, despite handwriting experts confirming they matched Jiang's script. So
What is going on with the Korean police, bro? This is some China level hiding, bro. They're like, no. We gotta save these guys. That girl's she was mentally unstable. That's why she died. Brother, she full proof was given. Man's names and photos were leaked, and y'all trying to spin the narrative.
officers implied that she wrote them under emotional distress, a subtle move to discredit her. Journalists who tried to publish the names in the list faced legal threats. Major networks began downplaying the case, framing her as unstable or overwhelmed by fame, basically covering up the whole ordeal. In the end, only one of the 31 men named in the list was ever convicted, and his charge was not of abuse, it was for slapping her at dinner. He paid a small fine and moved on with his life. Everyone else walked away untouched. Later audits revealed that during investigation, phone records were erased, several written statements disappeared, interview recordings malfunctioned, and police pressured witnesses to retract testimony. One officer admitted that mistakes were made, but denied any wrongdoing, although the public generally agreed that the case had been sabotaged.
This is insanity. That's why I said humans are evil, bro. Humans are very, very evil beings.
Nearly a decade later, during Korea's Me Too movement, the case resurfaced. Public pressure grew so intense that the prosecution launched a special investigation team. Dozens of witnesses came forward, including women who said that she attended sponsor meetings with Jang and confirmed everything she wrote was true. But even with new testimony, prosecutors insisted we cannot confirm sexual coercion. Statutes of limitations protected several suspects, and others refused to cooperate. In May 2019, the reinvestigation closed, finding no prosecutable suspects. It's another case where you watch her acting all happily as an up-and-comer in these shows, not knowing the brutal reality of her life off screen. It's incredibly disturbing to know that the producers who took advantage of her might be watching just out of sight of the camera. Korea's dating shows usually look light and playful on the surface, but behind the scenes of The Partner was another story entirely. Contestants lived together in a remote villa called Lovetown, filmed 24 hours a day, with producers engineering
Bro, what is this, like the Korean Love Island?
jealousy, rejection, and emotional conflict all for entertainment, like many reality love drama shows. But in 2014, The Partner crossed a line it could never recover from. Contestants were isolated from the outside world. They slept in gender-segregated rooms, had no phones, and were monitored constantly. If a contestant wasn't picked during the final pairing ceremony, The show labeled them as a Black Knight or Black Lady, i.e., the unwanted ones. SBS used dramatic music and humiliating close-ups to portray rejected participants as failures. The public shame element became one of the show's biggest criticisms even before the tragedy, which would unfortunately befall the show in March of 2014. Former participants later described the format as humiliating and emotionally exhausting rather than romantic. It was inside this environment that a female contestant, known only by her surname Jeon, took part in the filming. According to reports from friends and later coverage in Korean media, Jeon didn't start out as the unpopular one. Early in filming, several male contestants reportedly did show interest in her, but as the days went on, their attention shifted towards other women in the house. In the language of reality TV, she was drifting towards a very specific role, the tragic girl, left behind. Friends later said that she complained that producers seemed to be shaping her into that character, the woman no one chooses. The fear went beyond just embarrassment. In a final phone call to her mother, she reportedly said that if the footage aired, she wouldn't be able to live in South Korea anymore. She was terrified of how she would look once everything had been edited together and broadcast nationwide. During a break in filming on the villa set in Jeju, she went to the bathroom attached to the woman's dormitory. It was one of the few places without any cameras.
Oh no. She's gonna unalive. She's gonna unalive in Minecraft.
And unfortunately, she never came out. By the next morning, staff found her body in the bathroom. She died on set inside the Lovetown villa where our production was still going on. The police investigation later concluded there was no evidence that she had been physically threatened or directly ordered to do anything by the crew. Officially, there were no criminal charges against SBS producers because of this. But for the public, that didn't make the situation feel any less horrifying. News that a contestant had died during filming exploded across Korean media. Suddenly, viewers started to look at the show very differently, with everyone asking the question, in a show where everyone's monitored 24/7, how did a woman go from a romantic contestant to dead in a bathroom on a major network set, and nobody stopped it? SBS.
Yeah, man, how? Because these guys be hiding everything. Even though it's freaking clear as day why she did what she did. Then the police are like, no, we don't know anything. That's not their fault. It's never their fault. Always the person's fault. Not the production team. Not the behind the scenes people. Never them. Always the actor's fault. They're not unstable. Mentally unstable. Never their fault.
Responded by cancelling the show immediately and issuing a public apology. They expressed condolences to the family, but stopped short of accepting legal responsibilities for her death. To many people, it sounded like the network was treating her death as just another unfortunate incident in production. The victims' families and critics, meanwhile, argue that the problem wasn't one single scene or one single argument, it was the entire structure of the show. The isolation and constant filming, on-set rejection, and the lack of any meaningful psychological support for the contestants. In the years since, the partner has become a shorthand in Korea for everything that can go wrong with reality dating shows. With the manufactured conflict and jealousy, the humiliating edits, 24/7 surveillance, but seemingly no practical mental health safeguards for people suddenly thrown into national exposure, it thankfully caused regulators and networks to tighten guidelines after the scandal, with stronger duty of care language, more talk about psychological screening and counseling, and more explicit rules about how far producers can go. But for a lot of viewers, the Lovetown side still lingers as one of the most disturbing moments in Korean reality TV history. If you guys like the iceberg, be sure to subscribe and let me know what disturbed you the most on this list. And also, if you have any future ideas for videos, be sure to let me know below. Thanks for watching.
That was messed up. That was a messed up Korean TV behind the scenes nonsense. I don't know what I was trying to say there. That was a crazy video. Shout out Noxly. Noxly. W video. W research. I will be reacting to more of your videos. Like I said, make sure to like and subscribe his video too. I show him support up and coming YouTuber, 6K subs. On the path to greatness with his iceberg videos. Anyways, if you guys like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, thanks for staying till the end, and subscribe for more horror reaction content. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.